Morning, it's Tuesday, May 28th.
One day after.
I want to wish my children happy anniversary. I think it's their 17th anniversary. Wow.
Well, it's crazy, really old.
That's crazy. 17? Let's see, I'm 38, and my daughter's 40. So something's wrong with the numbers. Anyway, Parsha Shlach. As I said yesterday, Parsha Shlach has in it a very, very important mitzvah. At the end of the Parsha, tzitzis. I think you guys say tzitzit or tzitzis. Tzitzis. Okay, let's stick with tzitzis because my daughter Shiur gets upset when I start talking Israeli style. So she likes me to talk the Hasidic Yiddish. That we're talking, it's tzitzis. Now, as we know, tzitzis is a very important mitzvah, and it's brought down in various places that it is equal to all the mitzvahs of the Torah. And you know why? And what's this? I mean, not why, but where is it encoded in tzitzis that it's the whole Torah?
613 mitzvot.
Yeah.
90 and 90 is 100, 400.
99 is 100, that's in Iran. In America, it's 100.
I mean, 9 and 10 is 100,
Yeah.
200, and 4, 600, and you have 8 and 5, 13 is 613.
Okay, so,
Wow.
so do you understand that? That the numerical value of tzitzis is 600,
Right.
and you have 5 nuts and 8 strings is 13. So that's 613. Okay?
But then that's times 4.
Okay, but each one. The word tzitzis is okay. Now, also, some people wear a blue thread in it. Tchelet. That's because it symbolizes also God's throne, which is in that color, and so it's a very important mitzvah. And
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the one they
are you really sorry? Yeah, go ahead.
The Patil Techeret that they found, and they saying, is it really true? It's really something that
The little animal, the snail thing, whatever
snail,
it is, that
yeah.
makes
Yeah,
the blue dye.
Yeah,
some people wearing it. And
today we don't know exactly
They
what
can't
it
agree
is.
on what animal
Right,
actually
they can't
produces
agree
that
on it.
color.
I know in the, I think in your mock shrimp you have one of those things.
Blue vein, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
the real one.
anyway, there's a very I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to say this Gemara, but maybe I'll say it anyway. This is a very famous story, and how tzitzis is very important. So this is a story of on the Gemara in Masechtas Menachos, and it says like this: that there was the Gemara says, "Look how great tzitzis is." I'm sorry, Liz, that today's shiur doesn't really apply to you, but it applies to you because you can encourage others as well as your husband. I know he wears, of course, he wears it outside, which is a subject in itself, whether you should be wearing it outside or not. But we'll talk about that maybe one day. You know, all these things I say, we'll talk about it one day, Yeah, I'd like to know when that day will come also. Anyway, but this is the Gemara says, look how great the mitzvah of tzitzis is. That there was once a man that he wasn't what you would call the greatest Jew, but one mitzvah he always kept was tzitzis. Ma'aseh ba'odam echad shoyizor mitzvah tzitzis. Is there any purpose for me to saying it in Hebrew also? Not really. No. Okay, so I'll just say there was a story of one man who kept very carefully the mitzvah tzitzis, and he heard that there is one prostitute in the other side of the ocean, on the other side of the town or whatever, that she had a very high price, that she took 400 gold pieces for her services. So he sent her in advance. He made her an appointment, and he sent her in advance $400. and he made up a time that he's going to come there and be with her. So when he arrived there, she had
This is in the Gemara?
This is in the Gemara, yeah. So you like this Gemara,
Racy
don't you?
stuff,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very racy.
So, and when he arrived there, he was standing by the entranceway over there, and her maidservant, this prostitute, was very high price. She had a secretary, and the secretary goes in and tells the woman, let's call her Alice, okay? Tells her, the man who sent you the money, he's here. So she says, well, send him in. So he comes in, and she was, and she had 7 beds. She had 7 beds, one on top of the other. The first 6 were made out of silver, and the top one, the 7th one, was made out of gold. And she spread out beautiful linen and everything. And in order to get from one level to the other, she had a ladder, and in each ladder was made out of gold. And she went and she got completely undressed, and she was laying up there on the 7th level on the gold bed. So he also, he climbed up, and he got on top, and he started getting undressed, and the last thing that he took off was his tzitzis, and he flung it off, and when he flung it off, the strings hit him in the face. And he was like a little startled, and he went down, and he sat himself down on the ground. So she also didn't know what was happening. She also came down, and she sat down next to him on the ground. And she said that I am not letting you leave from here until you tell me. Oh, by the way, he sat on the ground. When she sat next to him, he turned around and didn't want to look at her. And he says, nobody has ever turned their back on me. He says, I'm not letting you out of here until you tell me what flaw you saw in me that turned you off. So he told her, I promise you, I've never in my life seen a prettier woman than you. But there's one mitzvah that my God gave to us, and it's called tzitzis, and it says, and it's in this week's Parsha, and it's the only verse in the Torah that starts with 3 letters, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am the God, your God. It starts with those 3 words and ends with those exact same 3 words. And the reason is because to let you know that I am the God who's going to punish you for your bad deeds, and I'm the God that's going to give you reward for your good deeds. And right now, when this happened, and the tzitzis hit me in the face, he says, I saw like 4 witnesses, and I'm not sure why it was 4, but like 4 witnesses were in front of me testifying to this fact that Hashem will punish me and Hashem will reward me. So she was very taken back by this, and she says, what is your name? I'm not going to let you leave until you tell me what's your name, where do you come from, what is the name of your rabbi, and what is it that you learn? So he wrote it down for her. He gave it to her, and he left. She was a very wealthy woman, and she took and she divided up all her assets in 3. She gave 1/3 she gave to poor people, 1/3 she gave to the government.
Taxes.
Not taxes, but sort of like as a bribe, because in that time, I guess, they didn't allow people to convert to Judaism, so she sort of paid them off because she wanted to convert, and 1/3 she held on to it. And she came to this man's rabbi, who was a Reb Chia, and she told him, please convert me, I want to become a religious Jew. So he said, he goes, no, you probably fell in love with one of the boys in my yeshiva over here, and I'm not going to convert you for that reason. So she goes, no, it's not a physical thing with me. It's not that I fell in love with some pretty boy over there. It says, shows her the writing and tells the rabbi the story of what happened, and he realizes that she's really wants to sincere about. Thank you. My English is not so good, so I appreciate it, Benny. So and he converted her, and now he told her, now that you're converted, now go take what's yours. And what was he referring to? This man that came to her originally. He says, what you would have done with him against the Torah, now go marry him, and now you can do with him according to the Jewish law, and she went in those same beds and those same fine linen, that now she was able to utilize it in a kosher way. And from here the Gemara brings out how tzitzis not only gives you reward in the world to come, but actually gave them the reward in this world, that they were able to marry each other and be with each other. Okay, so this is a nice story, but now we have a question. So tzitzis is very important. But is there a mitzvah to wear tzitzis? Do you have to wear tzitzis?
Says it in the Torah.
Okay, so everybody agrees, though, that tzitzis is not the same. It says in the Torah to wear tefillin. But do you have tefillin? You have to wear. If you go by a day except for Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't put on tefillin, you violated one of the commandments of the Torah. But everybody agrees
So you don't have to.
that if you didn't put on tzitzis, you didn't violate anything, because you only have to wear tzitzis if you have a garment with four corners. If you don't have a garment with four corners, it's not required to wear tzitzis. So, is there a mitzvah to go out and buy a garment with four corners so that you can have the tzitzis? So Liz says yes, and also, is it a biblical mitzvah? Does it say in the Torah to go out and buy a garment?
No, but
it says your garment should have. Okay.
If it has it, then you put it.
Okay.
In those days, most garments were
Had
four
four
corners.
corners. That's how
It's
they-
amazing that Tad. That is one of the main points that the rabbis, that the Rishonim, the first rabbis make. So we'll get to that in a second. We have a mitzvah that we have to slaughter shechita on an animal before you eat meat, right? But is there a mitzvah? There's no mitzvah to eat meat. I mean, let's put aside for a moment maybe the Korban Pesach or on Shabbos and Yom Tov, that it's nice to eat. But if I wanted to eat meat today, there's no mitzvah to eat meat. If I want to eat meat, I have to go out and slaughter an animal. If I want to wear tzitzis, I have to buy a garment with four corners. But do I have to create the opportunity? And this is in general a lesson in life. Should we go out and create opportunities for us to do mitzvahs, or should we suffice with all the voluminous mitzvahs there is already, or should we go and look for it? So there is actually a source for this. It happens to be in just 2 pages away from this story that I said before. So I only have to take out this Gemara for that. And it talks like this. It says that there was an angel of God who met a very big rabbi. He was so big that you know what his name was? Rabbi Small. That was his name. Rav
Ketana.
No, I'm Katana. His name was Rav Katina. Katina means small. That was his name. So he must have been a very big rabbi. You know, Yaakov, one of the forefathers, also says in the Torah in Parshas Vayeshev, Ketainti mikol achsodim. I'm small. So his name was Rabbi Katina, and a malach met him and told him, Katina. He called him, this name. Small, Katina. What are you doing? You're not wearing tzitzis. He goes, I never see you wearing tzitzis. In the summertime, you're wearing a garment that doesn't have tzitzis, a very cool garment. And in the wintertime, you have a heavy thing. You're not wearing tzitzis. what's going to be with you? Aren't you worried? Aren't you scared of Hashem? So he says, what? I'm going to get punished for this? I didn't have any four corners. Is Hashem going to punish me for not wearing a garment with four corners? So he answers him like this, says, ordinarily not. But every day, and this is another Gemara, every day there is a time period where Hashem gets angry. And in that time period, I don't know if it's a second or a split second or a minute, at that point in time, that's when God looks for these people. And those people that go out of their way to do mitzvahs and buying, like in this particular case, like buying four corners, those are the people that are saved. But those that don't, Hashem doesn't go out of the way to save them either. So, okay.
What is that time?
It's sort of like a came-up.
It's about 20 of 8.
It goes on
So,
there.
the Shiur starts at 20 of 8. Like, and that's... by the way, there is a Gemara. It's a fascinating Gemara in Brachas. It says that if Hashem comes to Shul, we don't have enough time. Hashem comes to Shul and doesn't find minyan, he gets angry right away. And it's one of the few times you see Hashem gets angry when there's no minyan at an appointed time. People don't realize how important it is to come to Shul on time. Anyway, so from here we see that maybe it's not necessarily a mitzvah that you if you don't do it you violate a mitzvah. Nevertheless, if you want to protect yourself, you don't want to.
The G shield.
Right.
People call
Okay, so the Beis Yosef, which I told you about him before, he says that this Gemara is talking about a case where you have a garment that has four corners, but you want to avoid the mitzvah tzitzis. So what do you go do? And you cut off one corner, or you fold up one corner so it shouldn't have four corners. So that's what it means that Hashem gets angry, that you have done something actively to avoid, to circumvent. You found a loophole on how not to have
Four corners.
So I'm going to fast forward. I wanted to talk about something else. He says, but just in closing, he says there is no mitzvah to go out and actually buy a garment with four corners, but it's a good thing to do. And how do we know it's a good thing to do? He says, we learn it out from Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu, he was, excuse the expression, he was dying to get into Eretz Yisrael. And why did he really want to go into Eretz Yisrael? Does anybody know?
The mitzvah that...
Because there are mitzvahs that you can only do when you're in Eretz Yisrael. So he wanted to create for himself the opportunity to be able to do those mitzvahs. So did he violate anything by not going into Eretz Yisrael? No. But we see from there that...
Right, he lost the opportunity to do this.
Right. Now there's a Gemara in Psachim. The Gemara in Psachim says, and it's really a very, one day, maybe even this week, I want to learn this Gemara. It talks about all kinds of interesting things where you learn things about Hashem, what he likes, what he doesn't like, when he gets angry, why he gets angry, what are the things that extend a person's life. There's all kinds of interesting things. And one of the things it talks about is that there are 7 things that Hashem excommunicates you. And it goes through it. Whoever doesn't have a wife, whoever has children and doesn't raise them with Torah, and whoever doesn't wear tefillin. And one of the things it says that whoever doesn't wear tzitzis, that Hashem excommunicates you. So what does that mean? So Tosfos, well actually it's not Tosfos, it is Tosfos. Tosfos says over there, Tosfos is a commentary on the Gemara. In this particular Gemara there is no Rashi. So Rashi's grandson did the commentary, but Tosfos says, what is it talking about, whoever doesn't have tzitzis? It's talking about that somebody who has a garment with 4 corners, and he doesn't put tzitzis on. That's when Hashem excommunicates you. But then he says, Tosfos says, iname, or even additional to that, even if he doesn't have tzitzis, he has to go out and buy himself a garment with 4 corners so that he should be obligated to put on tzitzis. So here we see from Tosfos that you have to create the opportunity to wear tzitzis. Now, again, I'm going to fast forward. What's the halacha today? So the Shulchan Aruch is a little ambiguous, and he says that it's a good idea. It's a good idea to wear tzitzis, and there's a whole argument what that means. He uses the expression tov v'nocham. It's good and appropriate. So what does that mean? Does that mean it's a mitzvah? It's not a mitzvah. The way we learned today is there was they asked Rav Moshe Feinstein. They asked him a question. That in the summertime they have these mesh garments, so it's cooler.
Yeah.
So they asked him if you can wear those because possible that the only garments that you really have to have tzitzis is wool and linen. Wool and linen. That's why you see today nobody really wears linen, so they wear the wool tzitzis. So they asked him, are you allowed to wear those nylon things? So this is what he answered. He said, why are you wearing tzitzis at all? You're wearing tzitzis at all because you don't want Hashem to be angry at you. You want to have this protection. So why are you going, if you're going to protect yourself, why are you going to use something which may not be the best shield for you?
It's bulletproof.
It's right. If you want to wear something that's bulletproof, don't wear a paper vest. You're going to wear something that's really going to protect you. So he said that you should really wear from a wool, not necessarily cotton or mesh or whatever it is, that use the best protection possible and wear wool tzitzis. So of course today we don't necessarily, everybody doesn't really wear it, and you don't have an avera if you wear cotton tzitzis, and you're not violating anything, and certainly biblically, rabbinically, you can wear anything you want, but there is a version that biblically you should only wear wool. And if you want to be on that level, you can wear that. Okay, have a good day. Okay.